exercise with me. So please close your eyes and imagine yourselves as a pig, like this pig, who I met very briefly in Los Angeles a number of years ago. And imagine yourself as a pig in just wretched conditions in the middle of Iowa. And one day you go from your wretched conditions, from some unremarkable building in the middle of Iowa, to a truck. And you just go and go and go for hours and hours and hours. You don't know where you're going until you eventually end up in Los Angeles. And open your eyes now. Imagine yourself here as Terry the pig, looking out at me. You have no clue what's going on. And this pig, who I made eye contact with for a good 60 seconds. And this is the last thing that this pig saw before this truck entered a slaughterhouse in Los Angeles and the pig was slaughtered. And so as heartbreaking as it is for Terry, the pig here, we also have to remember that his life was not in vain. And that's because I took this video of this pig and I making eye contact for 60 seconds. I uploaded it to Twitter, and the video has been seen over 189,000 times. And that is truly the power of social media. It's the power for us to tell the animal's story in a way that we've never been able to before. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about social media. So the potential of social media is truly boundless. For me, I have about 50,000 views of my posts across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and more per day. And that is not the result of magic. I do not have a PhD in social media science, and I'm not paying to run ads. This is exclusively because I looked at what was working on social media and tweaked my approach and tweaked my approach and tweaked my approach. So this is something that's anybody can replicate. So all of you out there who want to use social media to help animals, you absolutely can do that at a really, really large scale. And the other way that social media is, like, the potential is boundless, is that you can spend endless hours every day doing social media advocacy. I don't recommend that because you're going to get burned out really quickly, but it is really astonishing how much work you can do for the animals in the digital space. And on top of this, even though many of you are probably doing really important, awesome work on the ground, which you should totally keep doing, social media is a really good supplement to kind of raise the profile of that important work you're doing. So what are the benefits of social media? Of course, you have education and outreach, so you're raising awareness of how animals are being treated. You are inspiring change, inspiring people to make a difference for animals. You're building your brand. You are potentially launching or running a business, maybe a vegan business, campaigning. So if you are trying to get your local grocery chain to stop selling eggs from hens kept in tiny cages, you could totally launch a campaign using social media. And then, of course, networking, which hopefully you all are taking advantage of this weekend with hundreds and hundreds of other amazing activists here. So what are the two most important metrics to pay attention to on social media? It's growth and it's reach. So growth is essentially how big your following is growing. So if you have 100 followers today on Twitter, maybe it is your goal that by the end of this year, you'll have 120 followers on Twitter. And so that is essentially growth. And then the other big metric to pay attention to is reach. How many people are seeing your posts? Activism is a numbers game. And so we really need to get as many people to see our content as possible. And what is so important about having more reach? Having more reach means more eyeballs on your content, which means more people to share your content, which means you are reaching more and more non-vegans out there, and you're exponentially having a greater impact, and you're reaching more people outside your bubble. So let's talk about effective strategy in the age of social media. So you want to first figure out what you want to get out of social media, and that might look a little bit different for everybody. So first of all, you have to really figure out what your niche is. And you want to, a good way to do that is to figure out where your interests are and where they overlap with your skills. And you should set goals for yourself for engagement and for growth. So again, I mentioned earlier, if you have 100 followers on Twitter, maybe make it your goal to get 20 more followers by the end of the year. If you have 200 followers on Instagram, maybe make it your goal to get 250 followers in the next 3 months. So have goals so that you can kind of hold yourself accountable and you get excited every time you reach those goals. But manage your expectations, because whether you've been doing social media for a long time or you're just getting started, social media can really, really be a big slog, especially in the beginning. It can be really, really hard to get more followers and to get more engagement. So it takes time. So you really have to have a lot of patience. And remember that it's you versus the algorithm. So I know that it's weird. We used to live in an era where with social media, you post something and it goes right to the top of the news feeds of everybody who follows you. That stopped about 10 years ago. And now you are essentially in competition with these social media platforms and in competition with everybody else on social media in order to stand out. And so you really need to have your content be as engageable as possible. You need your content to get likes, comments, shares, and so on, because that is what is going to place your content into the news feeds above other people's content. And a great way to do that is to use emotion and to frame your content and captions as engageable as possible. Furthermore, with effective strategy in the age of social media, really put yourself in your audience's shoes. So as much as I would love for my audience to be just like me, they aren't. A lot of them are non-vegans, even vegans might think differently about things than me. And so you are not your audience, so you really need to think about your audience before you post something. So think about the thing that you're coming up with posting. Say, would my audience really appreciate it? Would they engage with it? Furthermore, post consistently. So don't post twice this week, 10 times next week, 100 times the following week, and then don't post for 3 weeks. Post consistently. So maybe post 5 to 10 times a week or something like that. But try and be consistent, and a really great way of doing that is by scheduling posts in advance. It is such a lifesaver. I've scheduled the last few weeks of posts in advance, and it's so great because now when I jump on social media, I can focus on engaging rather than coming up with what I'm going to post. Also, the small stuff really matters. So having your bio filled out, using the link that they provide you, choosing your profile photos carefully, and of course, it's very important to remember and mention again that effective social media is about engaging regularly, not just one and done posting, maybe jumping on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook once a day and posting and then getting off and not getting back on for another day. And engage with your audience. So in order for your audience to be interested in what you have to say and to keep coming back, you have to engage with them. So it's not just posting something and then never hopping back on. You really have to constantly engage if you want to get the most out of social media. So let's talk about effective communication in the age of social media. Work to empower and inspire your audience, not just depress them. So don't go all in on any single emotion, whether that's happy or sad. Provide a blend of different kinds of content. I like to blend sad content with happy content. So maybe 40% of my posts are sad content, 40% are happy, and 20% is a mix. And of course, don't be a jerk. When is the last time you saw somebody being a jerk and you're like, I want to be like that person? Don't make others feel judged. So we have to remember that we were on a similar journey as other people. And we want everybody else to be in our shoes. We want everybody else to be where we are today. But they're not. If they were, we'd have a vegan world, and we don't. So with that being said, it's really important to do what we can to not make people feel judged, because making people feel judged will often be counterproductive rather than productive. And the animals need us to be as productive as possible. And then I recommend being the 3 R's. Being relatable, so if other people can't relate to you, they might ignore you. Be reasonable, so understand what your audience is capable of. Yes, some of them might go vegan overnight, but many of them, the content that they're seeing from you on social media is just maybe just doing a little bit to kind of chip away at the walls that they have up. And then of course, be rational. So again, put yourself in your audience's shoes. So let's talk briefly about how to get more followers. So first of all, it seems like a no-brainer. post good content. People want to follow accounts who post content that they find to be interesting. So ask yourself this question before every single thing that you post. Is this interesting? Is my audience going to be interested in this? And I find myself doing this sometimes. I might, make a bagel, and I'm like, oh, this bagel is going to be so good. My audience would want to, see it. I take a picture of it. I'm about to post it, and I'm like, this is boring as heck. Like, nobody cares about this. I am not going to post this and waste my, precious place in the algorithm. Shares and retweets. So getting other people to share your content. So that is a really, really big way in amplifying your content and getting more followers. Because on Twitter, for example, if you get a lot of retweets of your content, then your tweets are showing up in the news feeds of other people. And then those people, some of those people who see your tweets, who don't know who John Oberg is or whoever you are, they don't know who you are, then they might choose to follow you. So shares and retweets are a really great way of doing this. External engagement. So liking and replying to posts from others to draw attention to your profile. So you can do this with other vegan accounts. You can do this with non-vegan accounts. Something I love to do is go to non-vegan accounts and maybe chime in about, my take on it. So for example, I might go to, Dunkin' Donuts. If they're talking about, an egg and cheese sandwich, I might say like, I would really love this if it was vegan egg and cheese because I choose not to harm animals with my food choices or something. And this will end up getting your posts and your tweets and your content to be seen by more people. People will then follow you as a result. And again, with so much with social media and so much with life in general, it's a numbers game. So the more you do, the more impact you are going to make. Engage internally as well. So like and reply to the comments and replies from others on your posts. Again, it's important not to just engage with others outside of our bubble, but also with people within our bubble so that we keep people coming back. And then of course, the little things as well. All the little things that we're talking about in this presentation, you add them up and they add up to a lot that really helps take your social media game to the next level. So content tips. Not all of your content needs to be original. You can work with others and coordinate with others to share their content. So I've worked with many animal sanctuaries, for example, about sharing their content, and that's mutually beneficial. And so animal sanctuaries, photographers, other animal rights organizations and groups, there are lots of great places out there to find really great content. If it was all up to each one of you to only post content that you have created, that is going to be a lot of trips to animal sanctuaries, which isn't the worst thing in the world, I guess. Also, single shot footage is better than highly produced, nicely polished content. If you're looking for getting as much engagement as possible, and in my opinion, as much impact for animals as possible, really just single shot, maybe 5 to 60 seconds, really makes a big impact. And you also want to say as much as you can in as few words as possible. So social media posts are really like quick punches rather than long university lectures. And for special notice here about animal abuse content, you want to prioritize content that induces emotions and pulls on heartstrings through sadness and sorrow, more than like through gore and through blood. And this is for a number of reasons. For one, that really rough stuff is more likely to get censored by social media platforms. It's more likely to get people to just immediately turn away. And the animals have it so bad that we don't need to show the worst of the worst in order to make an impact. And I recommend focusing on one specific type of cruelty at a time. So beak trimming, castration without painkillers, teeth clipping, and so on. That is a really great way of really getting people to be focused, because people are their attention span is so short on social media that if they are overwhelmed with 10 different things that's happening to a single pig, people are just gonna tune it out. So focusing on one type of cruelty at a time is really ideal. And then think of creative ways to express frustration with some of the forms of abuse that are more difficult to visualize. So think about long-term confinement, the rapid growth of chickens and other animals, extreme boredom, overcrowding, the inability for animals to engage in their natural behaviors. These are things that are some of the worst aspects of the ways in which we treat animals, yet it is very, very difficult to convey this messaging easily. So I really recommend trying to come up with creative ways of getting these points across. Furthermore, with content, organize your content. So if you've been to animal sanctuaries, if you've been to pig vigils, like I mentioned earlier, wherever you've been, take that content and put it into like a Google Drive or something so that you can easily access it from anywhere in the world. You can easily share it with others. I really recommend organizing your content rather than just having it with tens of thousands of other photos and videos on your phone. Now let's talk quickly about what actions to actually take on social media. So for one, you can share posts from other people. These are some of the posts that I did on social media and on Twitter that other people chose to share. You can post about your origin story. If people follow you on social media, to at least some degree, they care about you. They care about what you're saying. They care about what you think about the world and about animals. So talk about how you came to be the activist who you are today. Other things to do, post great plant-based food. So people love to see creative vegan food. And even though it's 2022, there's a lot of non-vegans out there who do not understand that vegan food is not boring. And we all know that vegan food is not boring. Furthermore, use humor to get across. Again, your audience is a very diverse bunch of people, okay? Some things are gonna appeal to people in other ways. So for example, you may have Susie who gets really emotional and impacted when she sees animal abuse content. But then you might have Jim who, when he sees happy animals on sanctuaries, that's the kind of content that he's most interested in and most likely to like and comment and share. Humor is another one of those things that you are reaching your audience in a different way, a way that you might not normally be reaching them. And then of course, without question, the most important thing that you can do on social media is to raise awareness about the cruelty that animals face in factory farms and other places around the world. Talk about your relationships with animals. So this is my cat named Scoop. I grew up with him. He had 3 legs and was such a badass. And he had a really big impact on my life and really helped teach me to be the animal lover I am today. And so he and I shared a great special bond. So I like to talk about him once in a while and the impact he had on me. Post a blend of various kinds of posts. So videos, photos, links, text, polls, and then of course happy content, sad content, educational content, funny content. You want to mix it up in terms of types of posts and the content of posts. Shine a light on personal achievements. This gives you more credibility both in the movement and outside the movement. And I recently reached 100,000 followers on Twitter, which is something I've been working towards for a long time. And so I mentioned this to my followers, and a lot of people engage with it. Whatever your personal achievements are, I highly recommend going about telling people about it. Even if you are humble and modest, try and push yourself out of your comfort zone, because shining light on personal achievements can really help amplify your efforts for animals. And again, don't be accusatory, okay? Being accusatory can really harm our ability to help animals. And sometimes less is more. So as much as I would love to scream from the mountaintops, paragraphs upon paragraphs or books upon books about the ways in which we should stand up for animals and why it's so unjust what they're facing, sometimes a very simple message is all you need. This is a 10-second video with a 7-word caption with 1 emoji, and the video's been seen over 1 million times. So sometimes it is not more, more. Sometimes it's less is more. And when in doubt, post about piglets. People love piglets for some reason. And don't put all of your vegan just eggs into one basket. okay? What I mean by this is don't focus all of your social media energy on one single platform. Why? Because if that platform goes bankrupt, falls out of favor with the general public, you've just wasted a lot of time building up your following and reputation on a platform that nobody is using anymore. I mean, when is the last time you heard from MySpace Tom? I heard some awes in there. I didn't expect that. Sorry, Tom, if you're watching this on Facebook Live. All right, other things to consider. I'll rattle through these pretty quickly. Post natively to each platform. So I really recommend, social media platforms make it really easy to just cross-post. Don't do that. Post natively to every platform. Post in the late morning or early afternoon. That's generally the best time based on the time zone of most of your followers. Have concise captions. So I have an 80-20 rule, but 80% of my posts are short and sweet. Sometimes not sweet, sometimes just short. And then about 20% are longer form. Make posts emotional. Again, emotions really make a big impact. Include emojis. 1 to 3 is ideal. And also, you want to use social media to network, which I hope you all are doing over this weekend. It is not often that we get to be connected with hundreds and hundreds of other people who think like us. This is a pretty great opportunity. Put your Facebook friends into lists, which is a great way to keep track and to locate friends based on particular things that you may have put them in lists for, like geographic location, for example. Remember that most people on social media are simply observers. So the vast majority of people on social media are not liking, commenting, or sharing. And so you're reaching a lot of people who you might not even realize you are reaching. Make your accounts public. So I know a lot of people tend to make their accounts private, and you may have good reason for that. And if so, keep them private. But if you really want to do the most good for animals, I highly recommend making your accounts public so that your content can be seen by exponentially more people, especially the people outside of your bubble who need to see your posts the most in order to make a difference for animals. Take advantage of trends. So self-explanatory. I mean, trends are really going to put your content in front of the eyes of more and more people. Pin valuable posts to the top of your profile. So Twitter, for example, I rotate my tweet every several months, and that tweet is often one that's very important to me. And I think currently my pinned tweet is a link to the course, one of the courses that I recently co-developed with Advocacy Collaborative. And so use this new feature to shine a light on particularly important posts of yours. Tag relevant accounts in your posts. If somebody who you follow on social media is posting content you don't want to see, rather than just totally unfriending them and burning that bridge, I recommend muting them on Instagram or hiding them on Facebook, because this is not going to burn that bridge. You can still influence them and so on. When you share other people's posts on social, write a caption in your own words. This is and the reason for that, people care about what you have to say, not necessarily what the other person has to say, the original poster of the content. Invite friends to events on Facebook in waves in order to get more RSVPs. Have an experimental mindset. So I can't tell you how many things I've posted on social media that have completely bombed. And that's okay. You have to have a mindset where sometimes failing is okay so that you can find the things that do work. Video content is best. Video content is the future of social media. Ads are really only worth it if these two things apply. The organic engagement is just not going to happen, so people just naturally aren't going to engage much with your post. And also the post is very, very important to your mission. So for example, if you just launched a vegan business, you need a lot of people at your launch event, then maybe that's a time then that these two things would apply. The vast majority of the time though, I really think that you don't need to pay for ads in order to get a lot of views of your content. These people care about animals, they care about animal issues. I mentioned earlier about experimenting with new features. Highly recommend this because it's going to put yourself at an advantage compared to other social media users. And It's 2022, don't like your own posts, okay? We already know you like your posts, otherwise you wouldn't have posted in the first place. All right, dealing with trolls and endless debates. Don't waste your time. It's not worth it. The amount of good that you can do by engaging for hours or days with one troll, even if you were to get that person to go vegan, which I highly doubt you're going to do, that is a huge waste of your time because you could have spent all of those minutes, hours, days spent advocating to other people who have more of an open heart and mind. And oftentimes trolls don't even believe the crap that they're saying, okay? They're just saying the stuff to get under your skin. So really ignore them. I get trolled every single day on social media platforms. Just the other day, somebody messaged me on Facebook and said, like, I'm eating a steak right now. I really hope that this cow suffered horribly, and I'm thinking about you as I eat it. And that's okay. I mean, just let this stuff, roll off your shoulder. If anything, trolls show that you are winning. So I have 2 mini assignments for everybody here. So at some point after this conference, I highly recommend spending 1 hour looking how other social media activists and organizations have used social media and figure out what are they doing, what aren't they doing. You do not need to reinvent the wheel to be a good activist using social media. You can literally just see what seems to be working for others and really learn a lot from that. The second assignment I have for you all is to spend 30 minutes looking at your past social media presence and to learn what's working and what isn't. Pretty straightforward homework assignments, but this is 90 minutes is going to do a lot to really help amplify your efforts for animals. I also want to let you all know that I've created over the last year and a half, myself with Advocacy Collaborative, created 3 self-guided online courses that are designed to help animal advocates be more effective on social media, to get more followers, to get more impact for animals, and I'm offering you all 15% off. Should you want to take me up on that offer, just use code AVA15 at advocacycollab.com. Would love to see you there. They're self-guided, so you can take them at your own course or at your own pace. And then once a month, I have monthly office hours should you be interested in chatting one-on-one. And I also want to let you all know that what you are seeing on social media is simply the tip of the iceberg. I promise you all, you are making a massive difference with the advocacy you do on social media. Even if you don't ever hear from people, like I've had the opportunity to hear, even if you aren't hearing from people, I promise you, you are making impact just like this with your efforts. Because remember, the vast majority of people on social media are simply observers. So you're almost never going to hear from people who you've impacted to go vegan or to stop eating animals, to move further along the spectrum. But you absolutely are making a really big difference, so you all should be patting yourself on the back for that. So I will leave you all with this quote from the late, great Maya Angelou, and it is, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel." And why is this important? It's important because making people feel something on social media is absolutely vital, and social media is the new frontier for animal rights. And so it's a place where each one of us can make people feel something to make a difference for animals. Thank you.